Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Plethora of Pictures. And this is the challenge where we're going to give you some great tools, tips, and tricks for organizing all of those photographs that tend to be a little bit overwhelming to all of us. So I know we've had a lot of people just jump on in the last couple of minutes, so let me just tell you quickly. My name is Tiffany Spalding. That's the voice you hear. You can't actually see me. All you'll see is the slides on my screen, the PowerPoint slides on my screen. This session is being recorded, so if you're a note taker, feel free to take notes, but if you'd rather just listen to it again or go through it again later for information that you might have missed or that you want to refresh, once it's posted on the website, you'll get an email that says it's posted and where it's posted, and you can go back and watch it on the website whenever you want. We also post the PDFs for it, so if you like to download those or print those out and have those, they'll be available on the website as well. So with that, just quickly, I'll just recap. I know I kind of already mentioned, if you have a question, feel free to type it into your question box at any time during the presentation. It may get answered throughout the presentation, but at the very end, I will answer all the questions that have been asked throughout the session. So feel free to type it in whenever, and we'll get to it at the very end if we don't answer it in the meantime. So this is challenge number 5 of the 2012 Get Organized Challenge webinar series. I know some of you are just jumping in for the photo organization part of it, and welcome to you. And those of you who are revisiting from the challenge series because we missed it on Tuesday, I apologize for that. Happy to have you back. So let's go ahead and get started with this challenge. So, so for those of you who are part of the webinar series, this week's post was by I don't even know her, who that's a Facebook name, and she just said color charted, and I thought this was a great winner because she used the double extra long pages and charted her colors right in those pages. I thought that was great. I've never seen that before. So when it was drawn up as the winner, I thought, oh, that's great, and look at those nice pictures. So congratulations to her. Now, if you're not part of the challenge series, this doesn't make a lot of sense to you, but every week during the challenge series, we pick a winner who gets a gift certificate to the Scrap Rack website, and so this is this week's winner. Our goal with this webinar is to give you a strong system for sorting, storing, and organizing both digital and printed photographs, understanding how to tag digital photographs so that you can find them easily. So we're going to really talk about the nitty-gritty of both printed photos and digital photos. What are you going to need to accomplish your goals for getting organized? You're going to need some sort of software for storing and sorting your digital images. We'll talk about a couple of different kinds of software. Photo storage boxes for printed photos, a perpetual calendar, or either physical or virtual on your computer, and then some basic tools for sorting and labeling those photos. So step 1 in this process is the same as step 1 in every webinar, I guess, is that you need to gather those things together. So spend some time just going around the house, through your car, your glove box, your junk drawer, wherever, and just gather as many of those photos together. Even when we're talking about on your computer, if you take an hour or so to just pull all those pictures into the right area of your computer, I know one of the challenges with digital is that sometimes we download pictures and they don't go right into the My Pictures file, or they don't go into the software that we're using. They end up on the desktop or on whatever other folder was open. So taking some time to pull all those pictures, and we'll talk a little bit about software that will help you with that, and Picasa is the software that I'm mentioning, but there are other softwares out there as well. So basically what most of us have is these boxes or piles of photos that are somewhat, maybe somewhat chronologically, but just all grouped together as we've collected them over the years, especially left over from the days when you got a great deal, so you would print duplicates or triplicates thinking that you were going to use them to scrap and send them to your parents or whatever, or you do multiple books, whatever it is. Now you've just ended up with tons of photographs, and they're kind of scattered around and definitely overwhelming. So your second step is going to be for physical photos, label each of the boxes of the photos you've got, give it a to and from date and whether it's sorted, or to and from date and that it needs to be sorted, or just that it needs to be sorted. So what I'm talking about is if you just have boxes of photos or wherever you've gathered those photos together. And so in this picture, I have used just the 16-quart Sterilite containers, but you can see I have photos that are dated but not sorted. And what I mean by that is I know everything in that top left-hand box is from those dates, May 2002 to July 2004, but they're not sorted. They've just all been kind of crammed in there. The box below, June 2001 to April 2002, have all been sorted. And then I've got a couple boxes there that are just willy-nilly and need to be sorted totally. So when I say label those boxes, this is sort of the first step. And if you've taken any of my other classes, you know it's really important to be able to break things down into small steps that you can accomplish. So this is that first step, getting all the pictures together and then getting them in major groups chronologically. Now, sometimes it's easy to get them into just all the photos for 1 year, and sometimes it's not easy to do that. And so that's why we have these boxes with years and then boxes that just say need to be sorted. But once you get one box of photos together, it becomes a smaller task than looking at a mountain of photos. So I'm really going to recommend that you get those photos just into doable tasks and small, so you can do smaller steps of things. The next thing you're going to do is create some sorting guides. So you can either use boxes or sheets of paper, and you just want to put the notes for dates and major events on the sorting guide. So anything that's going to help you sort more easily, and sticky notes work great also. So let me just show you, when I'm talking about a sorting guide, it's just a simple sheet of paper. And I just used a bunch, this looks like legal size paper, but it's not. It's just regular 8.5 by 11 paper. It's just a weird camera angle that makes it look long and narrow. But I made these sorting guides, and you can see they're headed with a year at the top, and then they have major pieces of information on them. So SB is an abbreviation I use for spring break. Where did you go on spring break in that year? Spring break Hawaii, spring break Moab, whatever it is. Because as you're sorting stacks of pictures, instead of having to go, okay, this is a Moab picture. Now, what year did we go there? You have the shortcuts written down, so it's easy to add the picture to that pile. Then at the bottom of each sheet, I have sort of some cryptic information there where it says LT 7 and 8, and that has a 13 with a circle around it, Max 5 and 6, and the 11 with a circle around it. LT is London Thomas, my older son. In 2009, he finished up 7th grade and started 8th grade, and he turned 13 years old that year. Max, again, 5th and 6th grade, and the 5th, beginning of 6th, and he turned 11 that year. So as I'm coming across birthday party pictures or events that I can tie back to 7th grade or 8th grade, beginning or ending of the school years, it's really easy for me to make sure that I'm getting those pictures on the right place. So just major events. If there was a wedding or if there was a retirement or some other big event that happened, you're going to want to note those on your sorting guide. So as you start to sort those pictures, it becomes really easy to just drop pictures on the right year. Okay, so step 4 is sort onto your sorting guides. And again, you separated things out into those boxes, and you want to work with just one box at a time and then put those pictures away and then go back and do the next box. For those of you that are new to the webinar or to listening to me, this is something that we've done always in the past 5 webinars or 4 webinars, is break things into these smaller steps. One of the things that happens with organization is we take on these giant projects that there's no way we have time to finish. And instead of being able to finish them, we end up spreading things all over the house or all over the kitchen table or dining room table or whatever. And then all of a sudden we realize we have to clear the table because it's dinner time or we're having guests over or whatever. So we take all that work done and we scoop it all back up into a big box, and we have to start over again. And then at that point it becomes overwhelming and frustrating, and our brains think, this doesn't work, we need to try something new. Well, it isn't so much that you need to reinvent your organization strategy. You need to have a strategy, which you're getting today, and you need to stick with it. And by working in small chunks, if you just sort and organize one box of photos and put it away, and then do another box of photos, you're able to accomplish those tasks in less time. And mentally and emotionally, you see finished work, and you see the success of what you're doing. And so your brain says, this is a good system. This system works. And it's easy to stay focused on it because you're seeing the rewards of that. And for those of you who have done previous webinars and posted on the Facebook group, like with paper sorting or embellishment sorting, I know there was a lot of mention just for doing Valentine's cards. Once you start, even if you don't have all of your stuff organized, the stuff that you do have organized, you're able to use it, and you really reap the benefit of your work, which sort of gives you an extra reward. Okay, there's my soapbox on just doing the small tasks a little bit at a time. Okay, so you're going to start with your box of pictures. You're going to sort by year, and don't worry about groups of pictures from particular events unless they're already together. So what I mean by that is you're just throwing things onto the year at this point. So if you come across a stack of pictures from the trip to Disney from 2009, go ahead and put that stack together. But then if you find a stray Disney picture, don't worry about digging through and adding it to that pile of pictures. And you can put them, parallel, perpendicular, horizontal, vertical, if you have groups so they kind of stay separate. But don't get bogged down in sort of micromanaging those piles right now because you're going to get a chance to go through them later. Okay, so this is a completely subjective exercise. So unlike other organizing tasks that have really had to go with your brain and how you think about flowered paper versus, printed papers or whatever, where you needed it to make sense to you, because this is so subjective, it's chronological, you can recruit family members to help you do this challenge, and it'll be fun. So if you have a family game night, this would be a great thing to substitute in for family game night is family picture sorting night. And it'll just be so much fun. And if you do that, make sure that you have a little notepad with you because you'll be surprised as you're talking to your family how people remember things differently. And it'll give you an opportunity to kind of scribble down some journaling notes that go right with those pictures. Or you could even ask your family for some, what was their favorite thing about a trip or whatever while everybody's around. And then just write those little notes down and put them right in with the pictures so that as you're sorting, you're also getting a little journaling done and really sharing some quality time with your family or friends. So this is a great one that you can actually have help on or use help on. So here's just a couple of examples of this. So you can see I've used also boxes, the plastic box up in the upper left, and then the sorting templates on the other side. So the plastic box is the same thing. It's 2010, and then the little sticky notes for each different event or thing that happened in 2010 that was a major thing. Now, after I've sorted into that box, I can use the sticky notes to mark, as I'm sorting by event, then I can use that sticky note on the back of a picture, and it'll subdivide those categories out for me as well. So, and then you can see the piles just on the yellow paper, and more clearly in the picture that's on the right corner, you can see where I have those pictures going crisscross. So as I came across groups of pictures, then I just put them crisscross so that they would stay separate. So little tricks like that are going to help when you come across the thing. Step 5 is to sort stacks into events. So sort each year stack by event, Christmas, Easter, birthday, etc., and create folders for each event you're going to scrap about. So one of the other things that I usually do when I'm sorting pictures or when I did sort pictures was to have just a snapshots for the year picture. So we all take pictures of things that aren't going to require whole pages of scrapbooking, but they're cute or whatever. So I have a section in each scrapbook that goes winter, spring, summer, fall, and it's just family snapshots. It's usually only one double page layout, but sometimes two, but it's just sort of the highlights of what happens in that season with the family. So, and if you have that folder ready to go, when you come across those stray snapshots, and a lot of times these are pictures that somebody else has given to you, like so a classmate of your friend's mother sent a picture of the two of them doing something, or pictures that were taken at school, things that you don't have whole layouts of are just going to go right into that folder. So it's a great one to have as well. Then you're going to create folders for each event you're going to scrap about. So you're not going to probably scrap about all of the things that you have pictures of. Back in the day, when we had to take pictures with film and paper, flash cubes and developing and all that, we took a lot less pictures, so we were more likely to scrap about everything we had taken pictures of. With the advent of digital cameras, we probably have lots and lots of pictures that may not ever make it to scrapbook. So it's really important that you kind of sort those things out and know these are just, photographs I'm just going to store, or here's a hard one, purge and get rid of. And these are photographs that are actually going to make it into a scrapbook. So I want you to do a few things. First of all, I want you to choose the number of layouts and note it on the folder for each event. So if you have a trip to Disneyland and you're going to do 4 double-page layouts, I want you to note that on the folder. I'm going to show you some pictures of kind of notes that I'm talking about. And then select the number of pictures you'll use for the layouts, blank number of photos per page. So my number is 6. If I'm going to do a single 12 by 12 layout, I allow myself to choose the 6 best pictures to go on that page. If I'm going to do a double page, then I get to choose 12 pictures. So whatever your number is, it's really important that you pick that before you start doing this extra sorting thing. So some people have 8, some people have 4, whatever it is. This is really going to help you choose pictures. One of the goals for organizing your photographs is that when you're ready to scrap them, you don't have a stack of 100 pictures that you want to move down into 2 12 by 12 layouts, right? Because what happens is you get stuck looking at those pictures, and it's enjoyable. I'm not debating that. But if you want to avoid being overwhelmed and you want to really be productive when you're with your scrapbooking time, the more you can do to focus yourself on that thing that you want to scrap, the better. So if you have 100 pictures and you're going to do a double-page spread, you need to pick the best 12, 8, 16, whatever your number is per page, the best pictures, and those are the ones that are going to go in the folder. The leftover pictures are going to go in a chronological photo storage box somewhere else, or they're going to be passed on to family and friends, or they're going to be thrown away, depending. I know that gives some of us a stomach ache to think about throwing away pictures. But I will tell you, when I did the major photo sort of all of my pictures, I put those boxes, those extra pictures, in boxes chronologically. And then I took them around to my mother-in-law's house, and my mother's house, and my sister's house, and then they went through them and pulled out everything that they wanted. So I could confidently get rid of all those pictures because I knew that my sister had what she wanted, my mom and my mother-in-law. Everybody had what they needed. Now I do a book for each of my children, one for London, one for Max, and then a family album. So my boys are covered with pictures as well. Now I know some people just like to save pictures, and that's fine too, but just get them separated from the pictures that you're going to scrap. And this process will allow you to do that confidently, because one of the problems is when we try to separate pictures, if we don't feel like we've got all the pictures that we need for scrapbooking, it's hard for us to separate them out. So this process will really help you with that. So put the photos you'll use into the folder and put the remaining folders into the picture box. You can use sticky notes to tag them, so to say, different years or different major events, but keep them in chronological order so it's easy to add things in, and then it's easy to share them or let other people choose things as well. So we're going to move on here to this screen so you can see a little bit more. So sorting the pictures by event. So here's 2008, California road trip, the summer trip. I was going to do 5 pages, which means that I get to choose 30 pictures. And the 2008 Hawaii spring break, I was going to do 6 pages. So I got to choose the best 36 pictures. And so I already know how many pages I'm going to do and how many pictures I have to choose. So it makes it a lot easier when I'm actually sorting those pictures to get them categorized and put into the folders. So once I've done that, then I'm going to just use that folded in half piece of paper, and I've got a brand new tool for doing this. You're going to see I've got a couple pictures coming up. But just putting those notes, Grand Hyatt, Kauai, helicopter, the Gazeki's notes, just little notes about what that trip was. Then I also keep a journal, a computer journal, and so I put a note here, journaling notes in the computer journal, and they're dated March 28th, 2008. So when I'm ready to scrap these pictures, I can take my computer journal and just go punch in the date in the search box, and it'll take me right to that section of the document where the journaling notes are for that event. So now that we have smartphones, I started this before the smartphone program, but now I can sync my computer journal with my phone, so that if we're out doing something and I want to jot down some journaling notes, I can put it right into the journal in my phone, and then when I get home, sync those 2 documents so that I always have the same information in both places. So that's just a great way to be able to journal wherever you are. Or even, you know, if something pops up on Facebook that's, you know, a family member note or whatever, you can just copy it off Facebook and paste it into your journal so that you have it there, you know, chronologically. You don't have to go back to your Facebook and look for it again. So it really makes it handy, whether you're doing it on your computer or you're doing it on your smartphone. That journal is a great way to do it. Then I also put a note here that says the memorabilia is in the file cabinet dated March 08. So again, if you have memorabilia that's not going to fit in with your pictures, put a note on the pictures about where the memorabilia is. So now when you're ready to scrap these pictures, you can grab the picture folder, know exactly where to go on the computer journal, and know exactly where to find the memorabilia that's going to go with the pictures as well. So then this box is the ready to scrap box. So 2008 to 2009, ready to scrap, good to go, everything's in there. So I know now if I'm going to go to a Crawford class or if I'm going to work at home and I want to work on Christmas 2008, I can open this box and I can reach in and pull out exactly the file I need of pictures. Maybe it'll have some memorabilia with it, but it'll definitely lead me to where the memorabilia is going to be. I won't get caught up like digging through stacks of pictures to find the beginning or the end of Christmas. I won't get sidetracked looking at other pictures because it's easy to pull out exactly what I need. So this is a new photo and memory organizer kit. We just released it in January. I haven't had a chance to switch over my pictures or the slides from this event. But one of the nice things about this is the box that you see in the background, the black box in the background, is just one of those fold together lightweight plastic boxes. So it's really easy if you don't have it full of pictures and you want to store it. It's easy to put it away somewhere and then bring it back out and use it. Eventually we'll all get caught up with our printed photos, and we'll be printing photos as we need them off the computer to scrapbook with. For some of us, that's a long way down the road. But these file folders that come with the box are super heavy, 100-pound cardstock, and they really prompt you for that same information. What was the event, date, is there memorabilia, and where is it, and what are the journaling notes? Are there more pictures stored somewhere else? To the front of this file folder, you can just fill it out with the information, and it just kind of motivates you to actually get those journaling notes with the pictures in the moment that you put them away, which is always very helpful. And then you can see here I have started moving some of my pictures over into the system, but you can see where I've labeled, totally filled out the information on one of the envelope, on one of the file folders. Some of them I've just left generic, like spring and summer, because I'm going to reuse those every year, right? These are just snapshot pictures that are every year. They don't have specific journaling with them. And then there's the detailed ones where I really want to remember things, where I've used the front of the file folder to label those out. I also, you can see, we all have extra holiday event stickers around that we're probably never going to use for whatever reason. We don't like them or whatever. So I used some of those to tag those file folders so that they were really easy to see. Not that it's not easy to read the word December or October or whatever, but when you take the lid off that box and there's all those happy little stickers or brads or eyelets or whatever you put on there, my 4th of July one has little red, white, and blue bling on it. It's just fun and pretty and just makes it that much more girly and exciting and crafty when you pull those file folders out. So these file folders are 7.5 by, 5 by 7, so like 6 by 7.5, and the box is oversized as well, so that there is room for bigger pictures. And you can see kind of back where it says Orlando, there's like an alligator head sticking out of there. That's a postcard that I bought that was a cutout of an alligator to use on those layouts. So so I was able to just put that in there because the box is wider than a standard photo box. Anything like this 8.5 by 11 can be folded up and put in with a picture, so you can put some of that memorabilia, tickets, flyers, maps, any of that kind of stuff right in with the pictures. So when I pull out that Orlando flyer file, I've got all the pictures for Orlando and some of the memorabilia and the other things that I've bought. So, and those are the new, it's called the Photo and Memory Organizer Kits. They're on the website. And the other nice thing about the file folders is it's easy to take them with you when you go. So this one's empty, obviously, in this picture, but if I was going to work on, like I said before, Christmas or whatever, I can just pull that file folder, and this is one of our tool totes or crop, for your, crop the A-frame tool tote, and it just, that file folder just fits right in the front of that, so I can take that little pack with me anywhere I'm going to go. It's quick and it's easy. Okay, so let's jump into digital photo storage. One of the keys, now, there are lots of different digital photo storage tools out there. There are free ones. Microsoft Picture Manager is an easy-to-use option, and it's usually included with most PCs. It's definitely included with anybody that has Microsoft Office. It's super simple to use. It allows you to label, date, tag, whatever. It's free. Picasa, P-I-C-A-S-A, Picasa.net or Picasa.com, I think it's both websites now. I think that one's owned by Yahoo, and that one's free also. And then there's ones that you spend a little bit of money for. There's a wonderful one from Creative Memories called Memory Manager that has a lot of different functionalities. Most of the functionalities you can do with like Microsoft Picture Manager, but you have to be creative about how you think about how to make them happen, whereas with Picture Manager or Memory Manager from Creative Memories, it's all sort of set up for you. So, and I think it's around $40, but they have a great training video on their website. You can go to your Creative Memories rep and order it. I'm sure she'll be happy to help you get that if that's the product you decide to use. But there are some great ones out there, and they are everywhere from free up to hundreds of dollars for, depending on the brand that you're buying. Okay, so what's really important here is that you stay consistent with the way you label things. And I know for those of you who have taken other seminars from me, that's kind of my mantra is you have to just keep the things in order the way you think about things, and then label things consistently so you can find them. So one of the big things that happens with photos is we download them all over the place instead of downloading them into the right folder the first time. It's really worth the extra few seconds. I know sometimes that seems like there's just no way I can do these little steps when we're kind of overwhelmed. But if you can make a commitment to yourself, a little discipline, to download into the right folder the first time. So when you open your computer, you just have your My Photos file. And then when you open that My Photos file, I'm going to strongly recommend that within the My Photos file, you have a yearly file. Now, some of you like to group pictures by family members. Or, I don't know, I guess family members is probably the best definer. So that if your daughter had ballet, if you took pictures of your daughter's ballet, they would go into your daughter's file, or your son's baseball pictures would go into your son's file. One of the wonderful things about the computer is that you can file things both ways. And so I'm going to strongly recommend that you start with these basic folders, so My Photos and then the years. And then within each year, if you wanted to do a file for each family member, you can do that and just copy and paste that picture into that folder so that you're going to have it chronologically in your standard method of doing things. It's always going to be the same for every photo for every year. And then you're going to have this bonus folder for just your specific people in your family. Or I know some people have pet folders of just the pet pictures or whatever. But be sure that you keep the chronological file consistent and all those pictures in there sort of as your master. And then if you want to do a second one, that's great. So, but remember, it's kind of like sorting our other things, that when it's in that system, that mental system, it'll be easy for you to find those pictures as opposed to sorting through page after page of images of your daughter looking for that one, 4th of July picture. If you know it was 4th of July, you'll be able to look right in 4th of July in your year. So you're going to have your year photos, and then you're going to have, within each year, you're going to have the same photos again over and over. So you can see in 2008, there's Christmas in red. In 2009, Xmas in red. In 2010, Xmas in red. So with the digital photo management, coding is really important because you want to be able to search for things easily. So pick how you're going to code things. In my case, Xmas is always what I use for Christmas, always. And then the other things, like Chelan, that was a trip that we took, and so that's going to be different, the summer trip, whatever, every year. So that's going to be a different thing. But you want to keep things consistent that you use all the time. Now, digital photo storage, tagging your pictures is really important. It's important because, like I said, when you want to search for pictures, you want to be able to put in the information and get the pictures or get to the pictures easily. So again, I'm going to strongly encourage you to choose the number of layouts you'll do for each event prior to looking at the pictures, okay? Then you're going to choose the photos you're going to use for your layouts and move all of the photos that don't fit within that criteria into the Just OK folder or delete them. Oh, I know. For some people, that's another like stomach ache thing, is deleting those pictures. So let me get a little bit, if you can think of your digital photos the same way as the physical photos. So when you get that stack of 100 Disney photos and you decide, okay, I'm going to do two-page layouts, I get to choose 6 layouts per picture. So I'm going to have, inside of the year 2008, I'm going to have this Disney, which was a summer trip, filed chronologically. I'm going to have all these 100 pictures from Disney. I'm going to name all of them Disney, whatever the year is, 2009 or whatever. And then I'm going to start a second folder in there that's the Just OK folder. So I'm going to be able to move all those pictures that are not going to be used in the scrapbook right over into that Just OK folder. And at the end of looking at those pictures, I've selected the best 6, 12, 24, whatever number of layouts I'm going to do, pictures. And the other ones are in the Just OK file. So now when I'm actually ready to scrapbook those Disney pictures, I can go right to the Disney file and I can print the pictures that I've chosen. I'm not going to get sucked into looking at 100 pictures and having to make those choices again, but I still have all those extra pictures in the Just OK file. So if I can't, a lot of what we decide is emotional, and we like don't want to let go. What if that? What if this? What if that? So by putting those pictures in Just OK, you'll sort of soothe yourself knowing that they're still there. But when you're ready to print the Disney pictures, you've already chosen the best ones, and you can do it with the confidence knowing that you've got those ready to go. Okay, you don't need to tag every picture in the folder. You just need to tag with major things. So Disney, we've already tagged them all with Disney because we did a group tag on that. So now with the pictures that you have chosen, you can tag them specifically to those events or the people that are in those pictures, so that you haven't tagged all the pictures and taken tons of time. Now, when I talk about tagging, I'm just talking about including that in the title or information block with the picture. So I use a perpetual calendar to aid my memory. I'll show you a picture of that. Try to be consistent with the date. So date, main subject, or event, and the people in the pictures. I try to keep my keystrokes to a minimum because I know the simpler it is for me to tag a picture, the more likely I am to do it. And then, of course, don't do all the pictures. It's not necessary. So just be real, tag a few so that you get the names of the people that were there. What will happen is, at this point, when you go into your computer and you click on the My Photos file, and then in your search box, you type in Disney, you'll get every picture that's tagged with Disney. You probably don't want all those, right? So if you type in Disney Max, then you're going to get to the pictures with Disneyland and Max. That picture of Disneyland and Max, my son's name, is going to lead you to the full Disney file, so it's easy to find. So don't worry about getting nitty-gritty and tagging every picture. You just need enough information that's going to bring you back to that file. Now, if I want to do just pictures of Max from 2009, I can type in my search box 2009 Max, and it'll bring up every picture taken where Max was tagged in 2009. So it really does become quite a tool that you can use to find things quickly and easily and to search things quickly and easily if you've taken the time to tag the important things in that picture. So be realistic. Not every group of photos needs to be sorted and organized. Worry about the things that are most important to you. So worry about the pictures that you're most likely to scrap or most likely to need in terms of spending time sorting and organizing your digital photos. You can go back and do more later, but again, as I've mentioned in previous classes, once you start doing it, then you can use the things you've worked on already. So if you know you're going to be scrapbooking 2010, if that's your goal, then go back and organize your 2010 digital photos first, so when you're ready to scrap them, they're easy and you can really reap the benefits of the work that you've done. So here's what I was talking about a perpetual calendar and labeling them. For those of you who've never seen a perpetual calendar, sometimes they're called a birthday calendar, but all they are, and there's one in the right-hand side here picture, all it is a calendar that has the month and then it's numbered 1 through 30 or 31 or whatever, however many days are in that month, and you write in people's birthday on the line. And it lasts forever because there's no days of the week. So every January, you know, whose birthday is coming up. Facebook is helpful for this with a lot of us too. But with the perpetual calendar, I write all the codes that I've used. So if you look in the December column, it says XM-Eve, Christmas Eve, and X-Mass is Christmas. So I always tag all my photos that same way. So if I'm looking for Christmas photos, I don't have to type in the whole word Christmas. I can just type in those codes. Same thing if I'm looking for a particular person, my sister, her name's Teresa Banks. You can see the big pink square kind of in the middle on the 13 line. April 13th is her birthday. And any picture that she's in, I just tag Tisa, which is her nickname. So I don't have to search through, if I just want to find birthday pictures of Tisa, I can type in Tisa, comma, B-Day, and I'm going to get every B-Day picture that has Teresa in it. So those kind of tags are short and simple, and they make it easy to find things. So at the top of April, you see that I have the SB, right? We already know for me that means spring break. So if I want to find spring break pictures from a particular year or from every year, I can type in that code SB in my search box, and it'll pull up all the spring break pictures, or I can type in SB and a year, and it'll bring up just the spring break pictures from that year. So the tagging really makes it easy to find pictures, especially when you're trying to pull things together. Maybe if you have a high school senior and you want, you know, pictures of that kid on birthdays, you know, from birth until 18. And so by typing in the kid's name and the B day, you're going to get all that kid's birthday pictures instead of having to look in every file folder, you know, from birth forward for their birthday file. So I hope that makes sense. I know it's a little bit convoluted. Okay, so this week's challenge. Now, for those of you who aren't challenge participants, you can take this on as your challenge for the week anyway. And for those of you who are participating in the challenge itself, you're going to establish your physical and computer filing systems. You're going to sort 2 boxes, tiles, drawers, whatever it is, of photos. Now, I want you to add 1 additional box for each family helper you recruit. So if you have 5 family helpers and you're doing family game night as photo sorting night, then you need to sort an additional 5 boxes. Well, 1 for yourself, and then, so yours are 2. You're sorting 2, and then everybody else sorts 1. So if you have 5 family members, use a total of 6 boxes to get your challenge done this week. I want you to sort 1 year of digital photos. Then, for those of you, again, in the challenge, sort 1 container of other supplies into your 4-section system. Sort 4 inches of paper. Post your success on Facebook. Now, again, I know there's some of you on board who aren't part of the challenge, so the Get Organized Challenge has a Facebook group where we go on and exchange ideas and motivate and inspire and laugh at each other and realize that we're not the only ones who are overwhelmed with scrapbooking supplies and photos. But it's really a great group of women who are really helpful with each other, not only for motivation and inspiration, but also for ideas. And, you know, there's a bunch of documents that have been generated that are checklists and different kinds of things. So it's a great place to sort of exercise your organization skills and abilities with other gals. So so a couple other links and details. Now, links and details are going to come out in an email either later today or tomorrow. To be honest with you, I'm leaving town this afternoon, and so I may not get that email out today, maybe tomorrow. But and so these are just some other things that might help as good references to revert back to or refer back to later. So one of the things I didn't really talk about in this session is actually multiple albums. If you scrapbook multiple albums, what's the best way to do that? So like I mentioned, I do a family album and 1 album for each of my children, London and Max. And so sorting pictures and staying focused on that and how to, you know, not get overwhelmed and constantly be pulling albums off the shelf and looking, did I scrap Disney for London? Yes, I did, but I didn't do it for Max. But I did the family one, that kind of thing. There's a whole article about that on my blog. where I just go through the process of organizing, and that's the link to it. Like I said, you'll get, I'll link it back in the email. I'll also try to post that on the Get Organized Challenge page on the website. So, and if you want to get more information about the Get Organized Challenge, you can go to the scraprack.com, click into the site, and then on the left side, there's a little icon that says 2012 Get Organized Challenge or something at the top button. You can click on that, and it'll tell you about the challenge. There is, I'm not sure the spring sign-up button is there, but like I said, you'll get an email about the spring class that's coming up. So if you want to jump in and do the whole challenge, it's free. You can sign up for the spring challenge as well, and then we'll take you through the whole process from start to finish. So, and the gals on Facebook, if you want to check in with them and ask, what they think about the challenge and how it's worked, you're more than welcome to do that. It's totally just a great group of gals. So, all right, so let me just go back here to the challenge for this week, and then I'm going to answer questions. So if you asked a question, I'm going to pull up in my question box here, and I will do the best I can to get those answered for you. Debbie says, thank you so much for today's lesson. You're so welcome. I know it's kind of funny. The webinar gals on Tuesday, I was having technical difficulties, and I couldn't broadcast on Tuesday, so this is just kind of an extra thing. So, all right, Linda says, thank you and good morning. You're welcome, Linda. June says, I'm late, but I made it. I'm at work, so I'm just listening in rather than working on photos at the same time. Thank you, Tiffany, for having this today. I've been looking forward to this since the fall series, as I have tons to sort and can't wait to get organized so I can scrap like crazy. You go, June. Glenda says, hi, Tiffany. Webinar forced me to download an update version of Java, so I was slow getting on. Are you videoing the session, and will you post it? Yes, I will post it. Linda says, I have a lot of 8x10 pictures of my children. How is the best way to sort these? They won't fit in the 16-quart box. So just like everything else, great question, by the way, Linda. Just like everything else, okay, first of all, our new box, the one I showed you the picture of, is 9x11. So as I've been using that new box, I take those bigger pictures, especially like the 8x10 school pictures, and I put them in the bottom of the box, because not only is the box wider, it's also taller than it needs to be just for that reason. So as I'm sorting those pictures, I just stack the big ones up that go with the years in the bottom of the box. So if I had school pictures from 2004, I would just throw those all in the bottom of that box. And then once I got all my pictures in the file folders, I take the pictures out of the box, put the file folders in, and set those pictures on top of the file folders. So now when I open the box, I have the big pictures on top. I can pull out the folder, and right on the folder, I just put a note that says, don't forget you have 8x10s, and then I can take those, go through that stack of 8x10s and pull out what I need from there as well. So that box is a little bit bigger and works really well for that, both in height and width. But you can do that same thing if you've already got photo storage boxes going by just tagging those pictures where you have bigger pictures. Just a little note, a sticky note, or write if you're using the paper folder that we talked about. Just write right on there the same way you would write about the computer journal or where the memorabilia store. Just put a note. You have 8x10 of these in the file cabinet or wherever you're storing those 8x10s. So it could just be that simple. I know some people just use a notebook with 8.5x11 page protectors for those big pictures, and then you just drop the big pictures in chronological order in that notebook, but then they're all together and they're all protected in those page protectors as well. Biggest thing that you want to do, though, is make that note on the smaller pictures of where those big pictures are. It's just like the other sorting and storing that we've done. What you want to do is give your brain a path to follow. You want to give your brain the answers so that it's easy to pull everything together and bring it together to work. So great question, Linda. Louise says, are we still supposed to be seeing step 5? That probably means your screen is just delayed. So sometimes, depending on your bandwidth, as I flip through my slides, you might not see the slide that I'm talking about, but it's just sort of that, so I know some of you go right along at the same pace, but if you experience that, it's just a bandwidth issue, and eventually the slides will catch up. Now, with that said, when the recording gets posted on the internet, you will be able to watch it with the regular pace of the slides. So the video will be right, even though maybe your computer bandwidth isn't allowing it to come through as fast. Mandy says, what is the best way to store the old square pictures from the 50s? Mandy, I would just say this, it's the same thing. You just want to put them into that file folder or that paper that's folded in half. Now, one of the nice things about the file folders, when we designed them, we made them out of that really heavy, I mean, it's almost hard to, you know when you get a manila file folder and it has the score lines at the bottom so you can adjust the width of the bottom? Well, these have the same score lines, but because the cardboard or the paperboard or whatever you call it is so thick, you know, it's almost hard to fold those score lines into it. But the nice thing about it, and the reason they're that way, is because if you do have odd-shaped photos or smaller photos in that file acts as a protective packet, essentially, protecting the edges and the corners of that thing. So you can do the same thing with the square pictures. Now, I have some of the square pictures that are smaller. They're like 3 by 3, and I'm able to put 2 square pictures right next to each other in the file folder as well. So depending on, you know, the size of those square pictures, you could put them in the file folder. But you can do the same thing with a folded in half piece of paper. You may want to use a piece of cardstock or something that's heavier if you're trying to protect kind of weird shaped things. But you want to keep everything together, and I can't say this enough. You want to keep the things together you would use together. If you can keep the photos and memorabilia together, you're in great shape. But definitely give yourself a lead on where those photos are going to be. But there's no reason not to put small square photos in with your 5x7s or your 4x6s. Judy says, how do you determine the number of layouts for events? I determine it this way. Sometimes it's hard as a mother because, of course, you think that everybody wants to look at 6 pages of your children eating ice cream because it's so cute. So I determine, generally that's what my determining factor is. If I wasn't the mother of these beautiful children, if I was just an onlooker or just somebody glancing through family photo albums, how many pages would they want to look at? How interesting is this? And there really is no defining factor. Some people do whole albums from a day at Disneyland, and they're wonderful and they're gorgeous, and some people do one double-page layout. So it's just kind of a gut reaction, but the important part of it is to choose that before you choose the photos, because you don't want to bog yourself down. And the whole goal for this is that to make it more easy and more fun and less overwhelming and less frustrating when you actually sit down to scrap. And so in order to do that, you've got to have that discipline to say, okay, I'm going to do 2 two-page layouts. So I got 4 pages to work with, and I'm going to do 6 pictures per page. That means I get 24 pictures. Now, 6 pictures is all the pictures I ever put on a page. It maxes out. Some people will put up to 12 pictures on a page or 20 pictures on a page. You can choose whatever your style is. If you're somebody who cuts pictures, you know, will cut small pictures into 3 by 3 so you can get 12 3 by 3s on a page, excuse me, then you can do that. But just kind of know yourself. It goes back to that same discipline we've talked about in prior lessons. Make the decision and know that it's not permanent. If all of a sudden you say, I'm only going to do 4 pages of Christmas this year, and once you do those 4 pages, you think, boy, I really didn't put anything in from the church event. I'd like to do another page with that. You can always go back and do it. But what your goal is, that when you actually sit down to scrap, is that you can take those pictures and feel good about the pictures that you've got and do those layouts. You can always add more later. But what you'll find is you'll do those layouts and then you'll be like, I've done Christmas. I can cross that off my list and move to Easter. And so it just keeps you moving through these pictures and getting more scrapbooking done. Remember, you can always go back. But my defining factor is how many pages would somebody else want to look at? I don't want to torture anybody, like the old slideshows when we were kids. Leslie asks, with regards to memorabilia, wouldn't you put memorabilia in the scrap rack under the theme of the vacation so that it would be with all the other items you're going to hopefully put on the page? Yes and no, I guess. If you only had, I think I used one of the examples. As a matter of fact, next week our lesson is about holding albums, and that's a little bit more of what you're talking about, Leslie, combining the things that are going to go on the page. I wouldn't put memorabilia in there because I would be worried possibly that that it would get lost or or beaten up, or, I mean, I don't know, I can't really, but it wouldn't be with the pictures. And I guess you're going to use that memorabilia with those pictures, and maybe you're going to use it with those supplies, but maybe not. You know, you might buy supplies with a great intention and later find something else or forget about them or whatever. But I would keep the memorabilia and the pictures together, and I would keep the memorabilia and the pictures and the supplies together when we're talking holding album. We're going to talk about that next week. So I hope that makes sense. It kind of sounds like that was rambling. I know there are some people who are really very disciplined about scrapbooking, and they buy what they need for what they're working on, and they don't buy huge amounts of other stuff. And if you're one of those people, then I would say yes, put the pictures and the memorabilia and the journaling notes and the supplies all together in your scrap rack. And then if you're working on that, you have everything together in one place. Absolutely. We'll talk, like I said, more about the holding album concept next week, I believe. Jim says, are the photos sorting cards actually file folders? They are actually file folders. I'm sorry if I wasn't clear on that. I guess they do look like cards, but they are actually two-sided, fold in the middle file folders, and they're really a heavy cardstock. Nancy says, Memory Manager from Creative Memories is $39.95, and you can download it from the Creative Memories website to get started right away. The training videos are on the website, and it's available for PCs only. iPhoto on the Mac is similar to Memory Manager. So yeah, and you know, I've heard great things about Memory Manager, and I did watch one of the training videos on their website, so that I felt like if I was going to get on and endorse something, I really believed that it was a good product. And the training videos are really great. I mean, it really does a lot of stuff that if you're pretty computer savvy, you can do yourself without a software program. But it really does make it simple, and if you don't want to try and figure those kind of things out, then it's $40. It's a great buy. It's a great way to do your photos. So Linda says, I have a dump file that I can go back a couple months later if I need to retrieve one that I missed or dump it. But that way it's already sorted out and maybe out of picture. So that's a good way too. And you know, I guess when we talk about that dump file, or when Linda talks about that dump file, you could think about that in the same way as you did a purge box. For those of you who empty your purge boxes by date, if you had that dump file and you said, okay, if I haven't come back to this file in 6 months, then I can just delete the whole file, or if I haven't come back to this file in a year. So assigning a dump date to a file that you haven't opened in that much time, because it shows on the file when the last time you opened it was, then you could easily dump it and feel confident about it. So good suggestion, Linda. Melissa asks, will the notes from this seminar be available? Absolutely. I will save them as a PDF, and they will get posted on the website. And you all who were signed up under this challenge or this webinar will get an email, like I said, probably tomorrow with the information. Glenda says, are you also going to redo this class at the end of the regular class schedule? If so, can we also join in that one if we feel we need more help? Absolutely. This class has been moved to week number 9. We've added a week to the regular webinar, so we will go back and revisit photo storage at the end. And at that point, I may have my stuff converted over into the new boxes, so you'll get a better idea of those at that time as well. Toby says, thanks, so much info to process. I'm ready to get started. Way to go. That's what I like to hear. I like it when people are fired up. Mary Smith says, how can we re-listen to this session, where and how? It's going to be posted on our website. I'm going to send this, if you go to thescraprack.com, click into the site, left side, top button says 2012 Get Organized Challenge or Results Get Organized Challenge or something. Click on that button, scroll down, and once this video is processed, it'll be posted right there, so you'll be able to watch it. And again, I'll send out a link to it. Kim said, I never use the original pictures to scrap. I always make duplicates. What do I do with the original? Well, you can keep those original photos filed away in chronological order, and I guess I maybe kind of skimmed over that. So you're going to sort my scrapbook page perfect photos into those file folders that are labeled with information and how many layouts you're going to do and how many pictures you've got and where the memorabilia is. And then anything you're not going to scrapbook is just going to go in a regular photo storage box in chronological order. And you just use sticky notes to separate the years or the main events within the years or whatever. Put the lid on that box and store it away somewhere out of sight, out of mind, where you're not going to be tempted to dig through it all the time, up in the attic, in the top of the linen closet, wherever. Or if you're somebody who can purge photos, and then you don't need to keep those, you can do that too. But if you're concerned about keeping originals and old originals that you don't have digitally, I would scan and store them, in remotely, or I know with Carbonite or one of those things, or in your, drive separate from your computer. Any one of those options is great, and then you have them and they're protected as well. So scanning them might be a good option, but otherwise you can just put them in chronological. And I would I'd put a note that says scrapped already when you put it in there, so that you know, because if you go looking through those boxes and pull out some beautiful picture, this is gorgeous, I probably haven't I bet I didn't scrap it. Then you redo the page and go to put it in your album and find that it's already been done. You kind of want to avoid that. I've scrapbooked events more than once, which is why I came up with this article about doing multiple albums. So if you do multiple albums, I would definitely suggest reading the blog article. I hope I answered your question good enough, Kim. Jennifer says, a thought. On digital photos, I like to also have a folder for each month within the year for random photos that really don't have an event to be sorted in. So exactly, I guess that's this thing that I call the snapshots photo, and I do it by season, but it's that same idea. So whether you do it by month or by season, or even some people just do a snapshot 2012 for the whole year or whatever, and throw them in there. And that way those random pictures have a place to go, and they're not just floating around willy-nilly somewhere on your computer. Hi, Jean. Jean says, Microsoft template for birthday calendar link. Oh, I can't repost the links. So Jean gives us a link for how to do a birthday calendar template from Microsoft. So Jean, if you can post that on the group, that would be great. And I will also try to put it in the email when I send it out. Kathy says, what do you do with all those school pictures? Yikes, I know, and you get them every year, and you don't really need them anymore because we take so many digital pictures and we send pictures out all to all our friends digitally, so mailing pictures isn't the same. And I don't know about your kids, but for some reason my kids don't exchange pictures. Maybe it's because pictures are so readily available now. But when we were kids, we got our school pictures and we cut up the wallets and we wrote on the back and we swapped them with our friends. We carried them around in our wallets and we thought we were so cool, and they don't do that anymore. As a matter of fact, I mentioned that. I was son in high school. I mentioned that to him, and he was like, are you crazy, Mom? If I want a picture of someone, I'll just take it on my phone. And I always have it. So I was like, yeah, whatever. Okay, fine. But we have tons of these school pictures. These are the pictures that we feel the most guilty about throwing away, the pictures, the sports pictures and all that stuff. Boy, I'm telling you, ladies, if you can purge, if you can just get rid of them, get rid of them. Keep one sports picture and throw the rest of that packet away, because now with that one sports picture, you can scan it if you need a dozen of them, and then you can email it out or reprint it or whatever. So I probably shouldn't be confessing this, but I haven't even bought school pictures for my children in the last probably 5 years for this reason. I bought the packet, I got the 2 8x10s, the 4 5x7s, the wallet, and then not even grandparents seem to be that excited about them anymore, because digital pictures, I mean, they're constantly getting pictures of grandkids via their phone or the internet or Facebook or whatever. So I would say it's a gut wrencher, but boy, if you can just get rid of, just throw them out. Keep one of each, scan it, put it in your annual storage box or whatever, so you have it. But toss them. I love that. I love that idea. It's hard, though. I know it's hard. It's really hard. It says, thank you for this session. Good ideas, especially the perpetual calendar with the tagging notes. How can we re-listen? I've covered that, so we got that. So it'll be posted later in the day. Linda says you can also use manila envelopes to keep the miscellaneous together, labeled and stored in your bigger box. Absolutely. So not only bigger memorabilia, but those 8x10 photos, I think is probably what Linda's referring to. So if you're going to store the memorabilia somewhere else and you have big photos, put the memorabilia and the photos together in that manila envelope, tag your other pictures with that information, tag the manila envelope. So when you come across that envelope with your Disney memorabilia, you can put a note that says Disney pictures are stored, printed pictures are in this box, digital pictures are here, so that you have a link to both digital and printed things. So everything comes together in your brain when you're ready to do that. Monica says, this is my first time participating, and I have learned a lot. I have so many pictures to sort, and now I feel that when my daughter graduates in a couple of years, I may actually have her scrapbook done. Thank you so much. You are so welcome, Monica, and I hope you'll join the group on Facebook, because when you get frustrated and overwhelmed, there's a great group of ladies and a wonderful sense of humor there to sort of keep you motivated and focused. And also, I know some of you are on board and have done the webinars with us more than once. You are welcome to jump in on a webinar series. They're free. They're here to be helpful. They're here to help you or your friends. Or I know some girls take the webinar as a group so they can kind of challenge each other, whether it's virtually or they all meet at someone's house on webinar day and watch and listen together and compare notes and then go off and inspire each other. But please feel like you can jump in any time or in any one where you need some extra help. I mean, that's what they're there for. So the more we scrapbook and the more fun it is, the better off we all are. So it's sort of that rising tide floats all boats. The more scrapbooking we get done, the more the industry can support us and help us do more things, and the more manufacturers will come out with cool new stuff. So Glenda says, if we already have lots of digi-photos that we've tagged and organized them into folders, but now see your system is even easier for those of us who have organized using programs such as Photoshop Elements. If we do change our stuff and move it around, it will break those links. So folks need to be aware of this. You manually have to go in and give the new link based on Tiffany's method and files. FYI, if you try to do a whole batch of them at the same time, it makes it go faster, but in the end, it's a steppy process, but worth it. So Glenda's absolutely right. When you're, that's one of the things that I love about the Microsoft Office Picture Manager that's on your computer, is it's on your computer, and so when you move the pictures around in that folder, those are the folders where everything else on your computer is going to look for things. So so if you only use that, it's always right. And I guess I probably should have mentioned that. That's one of the reasons I switched from using Picasa to using Microsoft Office Picture Manager, because every time I moved something around in Picture Manager, it was gone out of Picasa or vice versa. And so I just went with Picture Manager, because inside Picture Manager, I could put a document that was journaling. I could put, copy and paste other things off the internet. So if I found a layout idea for Disney, I could copy that layout idea and paste it right into the folder on my computer. So I had the layout and I had the link and everything else in there, and it's free. But that's a great reminder, Glenda. When you move things around, it breaks all those links, so your computer can't go back, will go back and look in the wrong place. So you really need to do it step by step, or copy and paste into new folders, and that'll give you a totally new picture in that new folder. So your old links stay intact with that old system as long as you don't delete it off your computer, and your new links are there as well. So, and it may be, you don't want to overwhelm yourself, and we've talked about this in other sessions as well. You don't want to start reinventing things that already work. You may want to move forward first and change things as they come, and then slowly, as Glenda says, you need to follow the steps, and then slowly integrate in the old stuff as you have time. So it's one of the things we talk about with using the 4-section system in step 2, is that if you can't do it all at once, doing just a little bit at a time and then adding in, kind of filling in from the back, works great. So, but do keep that in mind. You don't want to mess up all the links you have all over everywhere for those pictures. Robin says, I have a lot of pictures from the 1960s on forward and even earlier. Many are not labeled, and I don't know exactly the year they are from. What is the best way to organize them? And the best way to organize those pictures is to make your mother do it. No, I'm just kidding. The best way to organize those pictures is just by trying to get people and things that look similar together. So you might, if it's pictures of you and your siblings when you're little, like you can kind of tell by the ages, but choose, by how tall you are or what you're wearing, what the year is, or, there might be a car in the background that shows a year, or the price of gas, or something is showing in the background that's going to give you a hint to what the year is. But I did this with all my sibling pictures from when we were little kids, so mid-60s, and that's what I had to do, essentially, was look at how tall who was, and I just grouped those pictures that way. And that's the best that you can do. And truthfully, you're going to get things into decades, which, you know, the old pictures. And so as you're scrapbooking, if you scrapbook, you know, the 1950s, then you can put all those pictures into that decade, or 1955, or, you know, whatever it's going to be, all into those layouts, and just do the best that you can with them. But I would say the best way to do it is, all you can do is look at them and kind of guess. And if you have some older family members who could help you reference particular things, if you get, you know, 3 or 4 dates on things, then you can work on either side of those pictures to kind of know it was year before or year after, etc. Mandy says, before you scrap the printed photos, do you scan them to your computer? I do not scan them to my computer. I know lots of people do, and I just, it's kind of something that's become, because we can do it, and we never had that option before. I mean, once you took the pictures, I guess we had the negatives before, but so I would keep negatives of old pictures, and I actually have a giant notebook of negatives, but I don't actually scan pictures that I only have a single copy of the picture of those things. And I know some people do. I don't. I probably would if I had time. But Jennifer says, do you know a good way to get negatives onto digital media? And the best way to do it, I think, is to pay somebody to do it for you. I know you can buy the negative scanners. I think they're a couple of $100. Again, it's a time issue. They used to sell them at Costco, and you could scan the negatives, and then you would literally have that negative digitally on your computer. I know you can also take all your negatives to stores like Kit's Camera or Tall's Camera. I don't know where in the world, and there's people here from Europe and from Australia, and we have one lady online from Japan. So different places have, but when you take them to a professional camera store, they usually offer that service of scanning those negatives. I have my negatives in a notebook, and I have the little print that came with them that showed all the pictures, you know, on the little, if you got a 5x7 print or a 4x6 print, and it was a mini picture of all the pictures on the negatives, and I just taped that picture onto the negative storage sheet. So if I needed something, you know, and those negatives are chronological, again, I can go and I look at that little negative sheet, and it tells me what number the negative is, and I can have it printed from there. Minerva says, I have done most of the sorting of my physical and digital photos. I just have to tag and create the folders for scrapping. I also made a digital DVD with all my mom's pictures and gave a copy to each member of my family, which are 6. This is a great Christmas gift, too. It took a while to make, but I went back and took time while doing it. It's very nice. So that's a great thing to do, too, a great gift to do, to share out those digital pictures. I know my dad every year did a before he passed away, did a DVD for everyone in his family of what everybody else had been doing in the family, and sent those out at Christmas time. And it just really was a nice something that I loved getting from him. So it's a great way to pass those pictures around. Linda says, where do you put your journaling in the computer? Under documents or in my pictures? Put it in with your pictures. Put that journaling document right in with your pictures. It's so funny because we're sort of trained to put documents under my documents and pictures in my pictures. The computer doesn't care what the file is. It doesn't think any differently if you call something a picture or a document. It just stores the information. So absolutely, if you're going to journal about a trip or an event or whatever, just type up that journaling entry. Now, I have a running journal on my computer, and so every day I just open my Word document. It's on my desktop, my journal. I open it up, and I just go in, and it's in reverse. So I put the most current entry at the top, right? So every day I just go in, I put the date, and I put in whatever happened that day that was relevant. There might be some keywords, too, that I'm going to include. So if I went to Disneyland, or if it was a graduation or something, those keywords are going to be in my journaling, and I'm going to use the keywords in the photo tags as well, so that if I go in and search my big journal using those keywords, it'll pull up that same thing as it is a picture. But you could do that big journal, and then you can also just copy and paste today's section onto another document, which is right with the pictures. So you would have it right in there with the pictures if you don't want to go through the search process to find the journaling notes later. Absolutely. Put the pictures together with the journaling notes, and again, with anything else that you think is relevant. So if you're doing a Disney pictures, like I said, and you find a great Disney layout on the internet, copy and paste that layout right in with your pictures so that when you go to open the picture file, you'll remember that you liked that layout. Or if there's a history of Walt Disney, like a document that's printed out on the, it's written on the internet, and you love those, those little history notes and you want to include them in your Disney layout, copy and paste that information right in with the photos. The more stuff you can get together in one place, the more fun it's going to be to actually scrapbook that stuff because it's all there at one time. So any little tidbits that you gather or pictures or information, even from other places, if they fit that theme, category, event, whatever, put them all in that file folder because they're going to come up for you when you're ready to scrapbook. Monica says, does your family album have the same pictures as your album for each child? Do you duplicate the pictures from your kids' album if they are both in the same picture? Yes and no. The answer is yes and no, Monica. My family album is just the pictures that I love. My kids' albums are different and focus each individually on that kid. So for London's 8th birthday party, I will have primarily pictures of that I think London would like, of him and his friends, and there'll be some pictures in there of his brother. And then in Max's album, he would probably have a picture of him and London or 2 pictures of London's 8th birthday party in his album under summer of that year or whatever. So no, the albums are mostly different unless it's something like they both have the same Santa picture of the 2 of them sitting on Santa's lap. And they both have, if there's a family portrait that we did around the Christmas tree, they're both going to have that in their album. But I try to tailor the album specifically to the kid and to their interests, my family album being the one where everything sort of comes together. So it's a little bit easier. I've gotten less and less, I try to get more and more done, which means I do less and less quantity and go for quality, a 2-page spread of London's 8th birthday versus, a 10-page spread of London's 8th birthday. And I think it's kind of an evolution. I'm sure that other scrapbookers have, when we first started scrapbooking, we just did pages and pages and pages of anything because it was so much fun. And then we realized, oh my gosh, we could scrapbook every day for the rest of our lives and still not get all the scrapbooking done. And so then we start to streamline and do sort of less. So I used to do a lot more. Now I focus on major events for individual books as well as for my book. And then I have this wonderful, big, thick leather kind of classic scrapbook that I just slap pictures and movie tickets and notes in, and it's more of like a smash book, I guess is what they call it now, but it's an old-fashioned more scrapbook where I just put all the pictures in that are not scrapbook pictures, but I have this like giant book of events and things that have happened in life that's really kind of a fun thing to look at, but it's not so structured. Leslie says, I love your classes because they make sense. They're logical, and they are for real-life people. Thank you so much. Can you address what you do with kits? When I tried to put them under the theme in my scrap rack, 2 kits almost took up an entire binder. One of the ladies on Facebook page suggested photocopying the front page and putting it in the theme. Do you think this is a good plan, or do you have a better suggestion? I think it is a good plan, Leslie, and with kits, here's the thing. When you buy a kit, it usually comes in some kind of packaging, right? And especially if you're talking about the Kit of the Month Club that comes in the pizza box or whatever. Anything you get like that, you don't want to reinvent it. You don't want to repackage it, take it out of one package, put it in another package, unless you have, lots of time and lots of money to be moving things around. So try to ask yourself, the question, how am I going to tie this to something else so I can find it? So in the event that you got this big kit that was lots of wonderful pieces, put it in that pizza box and label the pizza box Beach Kit number 105 from, Club Scrap or whatever, and then take the flyer that comes in it and put it in the beach section. And when you go to the beach section, you'll see that flyer and you'll go, oh, this is box number 105, and you can go to your wall of kit boxes and pull out that box number 105 and use it. And when you've worked down that kit so that most of the pieces are gone or that it's quite a bit small, then you can take all those pieces, put them in a supersized single in your scrap rack, and have all of them together in the beach section that way. But the suggestion on the internet was right. Was a great suggestion. You just want to link things back. How am I going to remember that I have that? So it could be a photocopy, or it could just be a handwritten note if it's a beach kit that you put into the beach section that says, hey, don't forget you have this great Club Scrap kit. Here's where it is. And just link it back. Now, the other thing about that is when you get a kit, if there's something particular, let's say you bought a great Disney kit and you want to use it for the Disney pictures, you can link it to the pictures as well. So if the pictures are digital, go into that digital file and say, put a note in there that says, don't forget you bought this great Disney kit. Here's where it's stored. You were going to use it for this. And then when you pull up those Disney pictures to print them, boom, you're like, oh, I have that kit. If the picture's already printed, put a note right with the pictures on that file folder that says, don't forget you bought the Disney kit. It's in the closet under the, spare blankets or wherever you have it stored away. So really the linking of things together is really what's important. I know we talk about a roadmap of organization, and that's what you're building for yourself. So the more things you can link, the kits with the photos of the memorabilia, the kits with your 4-section system in your scrap rack, the kits with your paper storage, whatever it is, it just makes it simple. And if it's simple, you'll go and get that kit and use it. But it gets frustrating if you bought that Disney kit and you have to spend all day digging and searching and opening boxes and bins and drawers to find it, and then you don't find it. The minute you complete those layouts, boom, there they are. It pops right up. So that's how it always works. So just link them together either with a note or on the computer or whatever, and then you'll be able to find them and use them. I'm sorry, I kind of went off on that. Jennifer says that it's a great product that is simple for Creative Memories product. They have, so I think she's talking about the Memory Manager. Rhonda says, hello again from First Challenge. Just needed a reminder. I have helped my mother-in-law with the scrap rack. She's got a lot, so it took a while. I'm so glad that you're spreading that. You're helping and spreading the word. Let's see. Jean says, I emailed you a copy of one plain and one fancy template. Perfect. I'll attach for you to attach the email if you like. I will also post in Facebook. Thanks, Jean. I can't do attachments either. I can put a link in, but our mailing system doesn't allow us to attach anything. So I'm going to try and put that link in for the template stuff for all of you so you can see. Kathy, who posted about the school pictures, mine are 28 and 21. So Kathy, just keep one of each. Give them one of each in case they think they need it for something, and get rid of the rest of those school pictures that we all have so many of them. June says, when you have several kids' books and photos are used in more than one book, would you have separate little folders for each kid's book in the chronological photo box, or have separate boxes for each kid's book? Just trying to get a picture of this goal to sort the photos chronologically or set up to be scrapped filed boxes. I would put, so you're going to see if you go and read that article, what I've done is so I would take London's birthday. Right? So in London's birthday, I'm going to have London's photos, family photos, and Max's photos that are going to go in Max's folder. So inside the London birthday folder are all 3 sets of pictures with just another piece of paper folded around each set. That way, if I go to a crop or class, I'm going to work on those London's birthday, I just take that one folder out, take it with me, go to the crop. I can do my family album, London's album, and Max's album. I know I've done all 3 albums, and I'm good to go. If you sort them by kid or by family member album, then when you are building the layouts, you've got to recreate from scratch layouts for everybody, whereas this way I can do the family, London, and Max, similar colors, or share, different page elements or whatever for everybody's book, and get them all done at once and know that they're all done. Toss out those little pieces of paper. So, June, I'm really going to recommend that you go in and look at that article that I email out that was on the blog about doing multiple albums, because it even gives you a way to go through, open up those albums, and check off what's been done, so you know that you're starting at ground zero. So, Lakeitha says, tip, I watched a video for project organizations number 6 and found it to be extremely helpful, actually viewing you sorting everything. Have you considered doing live videos as your webinar or for at least part of the lessons? Lakeitha, thank you for bringing that up. Project organization is sort of miniature bites of organization information that comes out every Monday. Last week I did a video presentation as part of it. I'm going to try and do video presentations of every part of all the things that I teach. For that reason, because I think it is a lot easier for people to see me in the process, or somebody in the process of the activity. I can't do it. I can't do it with this particular webinar program. They promised me that they are upgrading to what they call high definition faces, which is HD faces, which would allow me to show this streaming live while you watch the PowerPoint presentation. So we're working towards that technologically. Lakeitha, thanks for bringing it up. And this is one of my goals over the year, to start adding little videos of me doing things to each one of the lessons. So hopefully you'll get to see more and more of that, but I appreciate your feedback. Barbara says, thank you very much. Overwhelmed but motivated to get photos and sort. So yeah, we have so many pictures, and that feeling of being overwhelmed is what really can slow you down. So take a deep breath. Know that you have a path to follow. Do a little bit at a time. And when your brain starts to shut down and says, when you look at a picture and you can't even focus anymore on who's in it, that's a sign that you need to go out and have an ice cream or take a coffee break or whatever. So don't let yourself get overwhelmed, because that's when we start to make bad choices, or we start to stray from a path that we know is actually going to work if we can just stick with it. So take that little break. Lots of good tips for that on the Facebook group too. Mary Lee says, key for me is choosing the number of layouts for events and the number of pics per layout. Awesome. I'm going to tell you, ladies, will really make you successful. It's just a little bit of discipline, and it goes a long way. So how many pictures do you get to choose for every 12 by 12 layout that you're going to do? Stick with it and choose the number of layouts before you start sorting the pictures, and don't overwhelm yourself. Linda says, thank you so much. I have today and tomorrow off, and my job was to tackle my scrap room. You've given me so many new ideas and made me feel like some of the ideas I already had will work. Thank you again. You are so welcome. I love doing this. This is sort of the joy of my week. How do you tag in Picture Manager? Super simple. Just right-click on the picture. It's going to get a little blue box, and then the picture will be in a blue box itself. And then from the drop-down list, almost at the bottom, it says rename. Just click on rename, and then you can go in and tag right there. There's a limit to the number of characters you can use when you're tagging in Picture Manager. So you want to, I don't remember what it is, but it's not a lot. I mean, it's a reasonable amount, but you can't write a whole paragraph. But you can, put 6 or 8 tags, date, who, place, all that stuff under it. But super simple. Glenda says, oh, copying and pasting into new folders would be easier rather than trying to fix all those links. Woohoo! Thanks. You're so welcome, Glenda. Glenda says, for those 60 photos, if unsure of the year, I put them by decade, and then as early childhood, etc. So great suggestion. So you can pretty much get them into that decade. And then like Glenda says, give big generic blocks. So this is early childhood. These are grade school years, middle school years, high school years, whatever. And that'll make it a lot easier. So you're sorting that decade into. Great suggestion, Glenda. Debbie says, my negatives are fading, so we scan them and burn to the CD. Just a thought. So a perfect option to just scan those negatives and burn them to CD. If you don't have a negative scanner, that sounds like that would work great. Glenda says, a friend of mine suggested that instead of scanning photos into PC, to use a backup such because the price of your camera memory cards has become so cheap. She copies the photos off the memory card and that she wants to scrap, and then she keeps the memory card. She stores all those memory cards in a binder, and she puts a label below what the years or whatever. So that's true. Memory cards have become really inexpensive. So that's a great option too, is to just have extra memory cards and store them that way. Jean says, posted 2 perpetual calendars to the organizers and to the challenge Facebook group and already have 3 likes. She's laugh out, LOL. And Pamela says, thank you, Tiffany. I'm a card maker and have hundreds of pictures and was a little overwhelmed to start scrapbooking. Now I feel empowered and will attempt my first scrapbook after becoming organized. Way to go, Pam. I hope that you will post on the Facebook group how that works for you. Glenda says, me too. My babies are 31, 27, and 25, and I have all those sometimes unflattering school packages here as well. I've tried to make myself purge this, but boy, oh boy, the guilt factor has stopped me thus far. Glad to hear it's not just me. I don't know what it is about school pictures, but I'm the purge queen. I can get rid of anything, but for some reason those school pictures stop me dead in my tracks every time. And I'm sure it's because when we were kids, getting our school pictures was it was such a big deal, right? I mean, it just meant so much. I mean, I have my scrapbooks from when I was a school kit have all those pictures with the writing on the back, and my mother made those books for me, and so she put the picture on one side and then she photocopied the other side of it and cut it out so that I can read what's written on the back of those school pictures. So I think those pictures are, I think it's the emotional attachment to how we used to handle those pictures that makes it so hard to give those up. So anyway, all right. June Peters is at work, and so she had to leave us because probably her boss doesn't like her spending the day, so listening to my rantings. Okay, so Leslie says, another class that I took, they suggested using the Cruise USB drive. They had us make cards describing what's on the drive, year and subject, and attach the card to the little hole using a key ring. The 16-bit Cruise drives hold a tremendous amount of pictures. They suggest keeping them on a huge ring, and this way they won't get lost. So that's a great way to do it too. Excuse me. And especially, you know, when we get to Christmas or back to school, take a little drink there, all of those drives go on sale super cheap. So yeah, if you have a 16-gigabyte drive, you could put a couple years worth of pictures on that thing and then store them all together, like Leslie says, on a ring. So lots of good little options for condensing down and storing so that you don't have boxes and boxes of pictures around. You know, again, you can store them remotely, so if something happens, they're still there, or you could do both. Sarah says, taking the camera memory card a step further, make an additional copy or CD or whatever and store it in a safe deposit box or an online service. I had a friend who lost everything in a fire. She was able to recreate all of her pictures. So an excellent point. I know my sister used to always take her negative notebook to the safety deposit box when we first started scrapbooking. But storing them off-site or even swapping with a friend. I have another girlfriend who puts all her pictures on CDs, and then when she scraps, she swaps CDs with a friend. So if something happens at one house, the pictures are stored safely at another house. So any of those kind of options are great choices. Sarah says you can also scan your scrapbooks a page at a time and put those in your drive and put them in your safe deposit box. So that's a good way to do it too, scanning those scrapbook pages, because then you have the journaling and all of the memorabilia and everything is right there. And if you had to recreate them, you could send them out to just be printed as a book then, since you wouldn't, you know, actually have the texture and everything, but all this stuff is there. All right, it looks like we are at the end of the question and answer questions here. So for those of you who are ready to embark on the challenge, I hope you'll get busy this week organizing your pictures and post up on Facebook and let us know what's going on and how well you're doing. Any new people who've just joined us for their very first webinar, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it motivating and inspiring. Please feel free to jump in and join us for another one whenever you need a little help getting organized. So I'm going to hit the stop record button so we can start the publishing process of this. I'll post it on the website as soon as the recording is done, doing what they call publishing, and so you can go back and watch it later or whatever. But watch your email box for that, for an email that goes through everything we talked about today. All right, thanks so much. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon next week for many of you on the challenge group.